Saudi Arabia will build a floating city that will run on 100% clean energy. This was announced by Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. The city, called Oxagon, will be in the shape of an octagon and will be located off the coast of the Red Sea. Oxagon is a part of a larger NEOM project that will encompass the entire region and should represent a sustainable model of humanity's future. Oxagon will embody the principles of living in harmony of high technology with nature and will be one of the most advanced logistics centers in the world with modern integrated connections to seaports and airports. Everything will run on 100% clean energy. The city will make extensive use of the Internet of Things, smart robots, artificial intelligence, autonomous cars, and digital manufacturing. The American Chemical Society unveiled micro-robots capable of spot-delivering drugs to cancerous tumors. The 3D printed robots are magnetically controlled and eject the drug only when they encounter an acidic environment around the tumor. Hydrogel bots in the shape of a fish, crab, or butterfly carry the medicine inside their own cavity. The density of the seal allows the claws of the crab or mouth of the fish to open in response to changes in the acidity of the environment. Magnetically sensitive robots are made by iron oxide nanoparticles. Scientists have already experimented with controlling micro-robots in simulated blood vessels and are now looking for a way to track them as they move through the human body. The California startup Cognition has introduced an augmented reality headset with a non-invasive brain-computer interface to enable people to interact with smart devices, for example, without words. The Cognition One headset stimulates the visual cortex, the area that receives and analyzes visual signals in the brain, while the wireless interface reads the neural activity, interprets it, and sends it back to the headset for more actions. In addition to the device, engineers are also creating machine learning algorithms and using artificial intelligence to develop a language system that can adapt to each user's unique communication style so that the system more effectively recognizes what the user is about to say or do. The experts at the Vanarama have studied Apple's transportation-related patents and created a three-dimensional model of a possible electric car based on them. In the view of British designers, the Apple car has a one-piece glass roof, sunroof, windshield, and retractable handles on the doors. The mesh grille on the bumper is reminiscent of the design of the Mac Pro. The signature white and gray color is reminiscent of Apple tech as well. The main feature is the lack of a center post between the front and rear doors. This type of design usually reduces body strength. However, Apple's patent details how diagonal support sections will be added to account for the reduced rigidity. Given Apple's history, the designers included a large screen that covers the entire dashboard of the interior of the car. Alphabet announced new successes for its Everyday Robots project. Versatile and trainable robots have arrived at Google's Bay Area campuses, where they will do the cleaning, sorting trash, dusting, and more. The robots can move small objects, such as cups, and even open doors on their own. The company promises that the new robots will be able to work in fully unstructured environments, such as homes and offices. That is, the devices presented by Alphabet are able to perform atypical tasks, such as taking out the trash, cleaning the kitchen, or even folding laundry, which is incredibly difficult for even most modern humans. Clio Robotics has announced a new version of its own Dronut surveillance drone. Designed for law enforcement, industrial inspections, construction, and defense, the Dronut X1 drone can operate without a GPS. A special feature of the drone is its patented thrust vector technology, which allows the extractor design to remain stable during flight. To overcome efficiency issues, the drone uses propellers rotating in opposite directions, which are positioned on top of each other and surrounded by a shroud. This design allows the drone to safely bounce off objects and people. And for now, though, the drone can fly for only 12 minutes. The Japanese startup Teleexistence introduced a new robot designed specifically for a chain of stores and Family Mart. The TX Scara robot is equipped with the patented TX Gordon artificial intelligence system and can work independently. But if an error occurs, the robot is connected to the operator. The bot can work in a tight space and determine itself which items to actively replenish based on sales data. It will do the job of restocking the beverage shelves in the back of the store 24 hours a day and in freezing temperatures, taking the task off human workers. NTT Docomo unveiled a new ultrasonic-powered drone equipped with a high-resolution video camera. The helium-filled inflatable drone shoots high-quality video. It's safe and silent, and its design does not imply the presence of blades. On the other side of the cylinder are two small ultrasonic modules that produce tiny vibrations. They disrupt air movement and push the cylinder left, right, forward, backward, up or down as needed. Honda and Black & Veatch successfully tested a prototype of Honda's autonomous work vehicle at a construction site in New Mexico. During the field test, the second-generation all-electric Honda AWV performed a number of functions for a month on a large-scale solar power construction project, including towing and the transporting of construction materials, as well as hauling water and other materials to predetermined locations. The Fraunhofer Institute for Manufacturing, Engineering, and Automation introduced a robot for assisting in nursing homes and hospitals. CaroBot 4 can work safely alongside people. The robot has improved environmental perception and a safe object grasping system. It can reliably recognize people and determine what they are doing thanks to machine learning processes and adapt their behavior so that everything works safely. DJI unveiled a new flagship Mavic 3 and Mavic 3 Cinedrones with dual high-resolution cameras and prices ranging from $2,200 to $5,000. Both drones are equipped with a battery capacity of 46 minutes of flight time, and that's pretty impressive. The Mavic 3 supports omnidirectional obstacle detection up to 200 meters away. It's also announced improved return-to-base functions and an upgraded pilot assistance system. The proprietary communication technology is also updated. The range of the OcuSync 3 Plus is up to 15 kilometers, broadcasting 1080p video at 60 frames per second to a smartphone or controller. The more expensive Mavic 3 Cine model supports Apple's ProRes 422 HQ codec, shooting at 5.1K resolution up to 50 frames per second. On board, there's a built-in solid-state drive with a capacity of 1 terabyte. Both support shooting in 4K resolution at up to 120 frames per second, and it's possible to take 20 megapixel photos. In addition to the main 24mm lens, a 28 times hybrid zoom lens is also present. The Canadian Space Agency is preparing a rover to explore the polar region of the Moon. The rover concept is being developed by two Canadian companies, MDA and Canadensis. The rover will carry at least 2 scientific instruments. The Lunar Exploration Accelerator Program mission will last 5 years and will aim to collect images, measurements, and data on the lunar surface. Scientists will also want to test survival technology on our satellite during the cold and dark lunar nights, which will last about 14 days here on Earth. Northrop Grumman and its partners AVL, Intuitive Machines, Lunar Outpost, and Michelin showed a prototype of a vehicle under development that should greatly enhance the exploration of the Moon and, in the future, Mars. Now many companies have space ambitions. Hopefully their joint efforts will lead to a breakthrough in this field. The ETH Zurich presented a system for performing precision logging based on a harvester on foot without using GPS. The mission begins with a human mapping the area of interest using a special sensor module. The human expert then selects trees to be harvested. The sensor module is then mounted on the machine and used to locate the location on the map. Upon reaching the proximity, the machine grabs the tree with the universal gripper. This process is repeated for all trees selected by the operator. The video, referring to a thesis by a scientist at the Zurich University of Technology, shows that engineers continue to mock robots. But, of course, it's all for the sake of science, to demonstrate the animal robot's ability to recover from falls. Yandex showed a new version of its delivery robot. The third generation of the delivery robot has a new LiDAR, which is now mounted on an angle and allows the robot to see closer objects. A new camera with an angle of more than 180 degrees gives a more detailed image. Plus, there's another camera with a longer focal length under the LiDAR, which is good at seeing traffic lights on the opposite side of even the widest roads. The rover will be able to carry up to 20 kilograms of cargo in a 60-liter compartment, and by the end of the year, the fleet will be replenished with 100 rovers of the new model. Subscribe to the channel, like this video, and don't miss any new episodes from the world of high tech. Google engineers have shared details about the army of robots being developed as part of the Everyday Robots project. The project's robots are designed to clean and help humans in any unstructured environment, be it an office or private apartment. But in the future, Google plans to create inexpensive robots that can be trained by anyone. The engineers humorously admit that despite the years of work, making mobile manipulators work quickly and efficiently in the unpredictable human world is still very, very difficult. And yet, the company has created more than 100 prototypes, which are now learning various tasks in the company's offices. The same robot that sorts garbage can now be equipped with a table wiping grip and use the other to pick up cups or open doors. But still, can even a giant like Google make the dream of useful home robots a reality? And that question, as of today, is still unanswered. Meanwhile, in California, the startup Machina Labs has announced the commercial launch of autonomous robotic facilities that will take orders to produce absolutely any industrial part. The first test of the effectiveness of such a production model has taken place thanks to contracts with the United States Air Force and NASA. Machina Labs robots focus on sheet metal and are completely versatile. They can be configured in shape and size depending on customer needs. We're reinventing manufacturing to keep up with changes in a highly competitive market. Now anyone with a great idea can produce parts quickly, efficiently, and economically, said Machina Labs co-founder and CEO Edward Mayer. Developers of the Air Cab are trying their best to become part of the transportation system of different countries around the world, and France has decided to give one a chance. Volocopter, Airbus, Vertical Aerospace Group, Lilium, and Joby Aviation were invited by the French government to participate in the transportation of guests at the 2024 Olympics in Paris. The vertical takeoff and landing aircraft will shuttle between two airports as well as two other areas outside the French capital. First, though, the companies will have to show what their designs are capable of and undergo a selection process. The testing will focus on measuring aircraft noise and vibration levels, charging of traction batteries, and the integration into the existing flight safety system used by the French airspace. Interestingly, Renault of France also decided to create its own flying car, and it's quite unlike anything we've seen before. Teaming up with designers from the Arsenal, the engineers developed a huge drone that's an updated version of the iconic Renault 4 car mounted on a quadcopter. The Renault 4 was sold for 30 years and a total of 8 million copies were made. Its flying copy is called the Air 4 and it's intended to symbolize its independence from traffic. The carbon fiber Air Mobile is equipped with a 100-volt lithium polymer battery with a capacity of 90 amp hours. The thrust of each propeller is 95 kilograms and the total payload is 380 kilograms. Speed in the horizontal flight is about 90 kilometers per hour at a 45-degree incline, and the maximum flight height is 700 meters. And while all of this is going on, delivery by drones continues to be developed here in the United States. Thus, recently, the Israeli startup Flytrex, which delivers packages to a distance of up to 1.5 kilometers in just 5 minutes, has received $40 million for development. Flytrex designs drones itself and develops software for their autonomous operation. The company is already operating successfully in one state. If the startup manages to negotiate with regulators and expand the delivery zone to 5 kilometers, its presence in the market will expand significantly. Flytrex drones are controlled by a proprietary platform and machine learning algorithm. The drones are capable of flying both independently and under the control of a remote operator. The delivery area is targeted for the suburbs. The drone with the order quickly reaches the address and drops the cargo in the backyard via a tether. The startup Spin Launch, which is developing a kinetic system to launch objects into space without rockets, has conducted its first successful tests. The electrically powered suborbital accelerator is a giant-sized, disc-shaped vacuum chamber where the spacecraft and cargo spin up before flying out of the launch tube at more than 8,047 kilometers per hour. As part of the test, the installation launched a prototype spacecraft. It's a smaller replica of the future L-100 orbital mass accelerator system, which will be able to launch cargoes of up to 200 kilograms into space. The first commercial launches of Spin Launch are scheduled by the end of 2024. It's expected that the development will make it possible to reduce the amount of fuel used by 4 times and the total cost of launches by 10 times compared to conventional rockets. At the same time, it will be possible to launch into space literally every day. What do you think of that, Elon? And the British company Pulsar Fusion recently tested a hybrid rocket engine. Pulsar's working green non-toxic hybrid rocket engine burns nitrous oxide, N2O, high-density polyethylene, HDPE fuel, and oxygen. HDPE can be obtained from recycled plastic, and the two fuels can then be burned together to form non-toxic plume. During the first test burn, supersonic shock breezers were formed, which can usually be seen in high-temperature, high-mass rocket exhaust. The company plans to conduct a demonstration for potential customers in the near future. Moving forward, engineers intend to create a waste-fueled fusion space engine for interstellar flight. NASA launched the DART mission into space, designed to study the possibility of protecting Earth from asteroid collisions. To do this, the refrigerator-sized spacecraft went into a system of 2 asteroids, Didymus and Dimorphos, only to crash into the smaller of the pair, the asteroid Dimorphos, and thus try to alter the trajectory. The ship is scheduled to meet the celestial body next year. The double asteroid redirect mission ship will collide with the asteroid at over 24,000 kilometers per hour and transfer its momentum into it. This should be enough to deflect the asteroid from its original path by a fraction of a percent. The asteroid targeted by DART poses no threat to Earth. NASA just wants to see if an early strike can change the asteroid's trajectory enough to allow it to safely fly past the planet rather than crash into it in the long run. The Parker Solar Probe, launched by NASA in 2018, completed its 10th approach to the Sun, setting 2 new records for maximum approach to the star and fastest man-made object in human history. The probe was able to reach speeds of 586,864 kilometers per hour, which means that the device would reach the Moon from Earth in 1 hour. The maximum approach distance to the Sun was 8.5 million kilometers. Interestingly, the greatest danger to the integrity of the vehicle is the low temperature of the star and the dust microparticles that destroy the hull because of the high speed of the probe. The collision velocities are such that the released energy vaporizes the particles and surface material in the form of plasma. What's the biggest prize you've ever won in a lottery? For fitness instructor Keisha from Antigua, the winning prize was a flight to the edge of space in a Virgin Galactic spaceplane. The lottery was in partnership with fundraising company Omaze and Space for Humanity, a non-profit that wants to ensure an inclusive future in space. The flight itself is scheduled to take place in July. According to Virgin Galactic, more than 100,000 people donated to the lottery, which raised a planned $1.7 million in 8 weeks after it began. The resulting proceeds will go to Space for Humanity's Citizen Astronaut Program. Physicists at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology have achieved for the first time in practice the effect predicted more than 30 years ago. Having cooled the gas to an ultra-low temperature and compressed it with a laser, scientists saw that it became translucent. It stopped reflecting and scattering some of the light falling into it. This way, you can bring matter to complete invisibility, according to the scientist. The effect is based on the Pauli prohibition principle, the law of quantum mechanics, which reflects the inability of some elementary particles to become indistinguishable from each other. Such particles are called fermions, such as the protons, neutrons, and electrons that make up atoms, as well as the atoms themselves of many substances. You can use this effect to turn any objects into invisible ones. It manifests itself at temperatures close to absolute zero, but now scientists begin to create materials that act as an invisible cloak in a certain physical environment, and, for example, prevent information loss in quantum computers. Another experiment by physicists, this time from Britain, Australia, and Spain, showed that time and quantum systems can evolve in 2 opposite directions, both forward and backward. Entropy, which can be quantitatively measured in a number of physical systems, was chosen as the measured quantity. Under natural conditions, entropy, which determines the degree of order in a system, can only increase, i.e., its movement is always directed towards the future. An experiment performed on a system limited by a few quantum elements showed that a system in a stable state not only increases its entropy, but also decreases it, or, as scientists conclude, moves backward in time. It's impossible to see such a phenomena in macrocosm. In it, entropy of events is too big and therefore irreversible. But at a subatomic level, backwards in time are quite registered. According to the American media, at the end of next year, Apple will launch its augmented reality headset project, which may replace the iPhone within 10 years. It's expected that the processing power of the main processor of the headset will be similar to the M1 chip, combining powerful features, performance, and efficiency. At the same time, the sensor systems of the device will be controlled by a lower-level processor. Analysts believe that the headset will also be equipped with a pair of 4K micro OLED displays from Sony to support virtual reality. The headset is likely able to run independently of a Mac or iPhone and will support a wide range of applications. Doctors at the London's Moorfields Eye Hospital made history when they fitted a patient with the world's first eye prosthesis printed entirely from a 3D printer. And why is that important? It's not such that the eye looks much more realistic than the traditional acrylic implants, but that the manufacturing process is reduced to 2 to 3 weeks instead of 2 to 3 months. It also means that this production method eliminates the unpleasant procedure of taking an impression of the eye cavity. Instead, a 3-dimensional scanning and modeling is performed. The digital model is then sent to a laboratory where the prosthesis is printed within a couple of hours and sent back for polishing and final fitting. Following Saudi Arabia, South Korea has also announced the creation of a floating city of the future. Construction of the oceanic city will be supported by the UN and cost about $200 million. The city will supply itself with energy from solar panels on the roofs of houses, produce food and water, as well as provide internal logistics. In theory, it would be completely self-sufficient. Most likely, the city will be built near the South Korean port of Busan, but each hexagonal island, securely attached to the seabed, will be covered with limestone. Vegetables and fruits will be grown in aeroponic and aquaponic systems, completed by traditional outdoor farms and greenhouses. The construction will make the maximum use of locally produced materials, including fast-growing bamboo. All structures will have less than 7 stories to create a low center of gravity, which provides stability during high winds. Moscow has approved a list of streets available for unmanned vehicles. These are almost 200 streets where drone traffic is allowed in test mode without passengers or luggage, and about 20 streets where drone traffic with passengers is allowed. It's interesting that in order to speed up the introduction of drones on streets of the capital, a digital copy of Moscow will be created in the first half of 2022. The project will allow experiments on the model. To create the replica, 8 Hyundai Solaris cars with 6 synchronized 360-degree cameras will patrol the city. The system should build a full virtual copy of Moscow's road infrastructure with signs, traffic lights, crosswalks, stops, and everything else. Russian Post's SH-350 drone from Aeromax has successfully completed its first test flight on the Salakard-Askara route and back, which is more than 100 kilometers long. The drone successfully delivered the cargo mock-up in a little over a half hour and safely returned to the base. In the future, the drone will be able to deliver up to 100 kilograms of payload at distances of up to 150 kilometers. The cruising speed of the drone is 90 kilometers per hour, and it can fly in any weather, including snowfall, hail, and strong wind. Without cargo, the drone can stay in the air for 5 hours. In the future, Russian Post plans to introduce drone delivery by the end of 2024 on 10 difficult routes for ground equipment. Concern Kalashnikov patented its own version of a miniature electric vehicle based on the UB4 quadricycle, first shown at the Army 2018 Forum. Unfortunately, the technical characteristics of the car in the style of the 1920s are still unknown. Whether and when the car went into production also remains a mystery. Perhaps the novelty, like the UV4 model itself, will be able to accelerate up to 80 kilometers per hour with a range of up to 150 kilometers. The interior of the car is expected to be designed with a minimalist style. Subscribe to the channel, like this video, and don't miss any new episodes from the world of high tech. But before we go on, let me say something about today's sponsor, Brilliant. Brilliant is a great way to learn more about science. Brilliant is an online learning platform that promotes education by problem solving and practical examples rather than memorization. Brilliant's interactivity allows you to solve problems with a hands-on approach by offering over 60 interactive courses in math, science, and computer science. It's not just the variety of topics that sets them apart, but also the fact that they guide you through these programs and interactive courses. You can move with individual lessons alongside with classes that encourage you and think about problems by yourself, which, in my opinion, should always be the goal of learning. Actually, we think everybody would find something useful among their courses. Want to learn about mathematics or want to go in a casino? Check out their Statistics Fundamentals or Casino Probability courses. Or do you want to go deeper into engineering? Then have a look at the engineering courses like Classical Mechanics, Electricity and Mechanism, and/or Computational Biology. Learning should never be just a consumption. You should always do and think through things that surround you, remember and understand things, and understand them properly, like in our Pro Robots YouTube video format. If you want to learn more about how things really work, you need to check out the Brilliant courses. If you complete Brilliant's courses, you will be way ahead of the average person that will talk about robotics and science. The fact that you can find interactive lessons on topics like this is why we love Brilliant, and why they make it so easy to recommend to the platform. If there's any math, science, or computer-related topics that you want to dive deeper into, Brilliant is the way to do it with structure, but at your own pace. If you want to join me and millions of other curious people on Brilliant, go to brilliant.org/prorobots and sign up for free. And also, the first 200 people that go using this link will get 20% off the annual premium subscription. The British robotics company Engineered Arts has unveiled the Amica humanoid robot, the most realistic humanoid robot in the world. The modular robot is based on developments of the Mesmer company and completely repeats human facial expressions. According to the engineers, their development should combine all capabilities of artificial intelligence and artificial body, creating the ideal image of a robot in the future, such as was shown in the movie I, Robot in 2004. In the future, the company will also give its robots the ability to move around, and for now, it's mostly a test at the entertainment booth. We're waiting for Amica to show up at the CES 2022 in January, which we will be sure to tell you about. The Chinese electric car manufacturer XPeng unveiled its first flying car, the XPeng 2, in the spring, showed its new 6th-generation concept at the world's fall automotive shows. The company's 6th vertical takeoff and landing vehicle concept in 8 years is a luxury vehicle capable of moving freely on public roads and taking off at any convenient moment. Control systems will be self-explanatory and equipped with functions of autonomous pilot assistant using branded intelligent OS XPeng. The car will also be equipped with an emergency parachute system. The use of carbon fiber, aircraft aluminum, titanium, and magnesium alloys help to reduce the weight of the car. In the length, the concept is 4 meters 80 centimeters, and in width, just under 2 with folded propellers. The diameter of the robot at the same time is 1 meter 80 centimeters. Cruising speeds reach 130 kilometers per hour, and the expected range is 35 minutes at a maximum altitude of 1,000 meters. By the way, test flights of the X2 in Europe are scheduled for the first half of 2022. Robotic Systems Lab, based out of Zurich, has shown its vision for mobile robots of the future. It's a combination of fast, stable movement on 4 legs and the ability to traverse stairs and other obstacles, and the humanoid robot's ability to balance on its own 2 hind legs in order to use its front legs to manipulate objects. On the roads, the robot can move at speeds of just over 22 kilometers per hour. The developers assure that such a system is superior to any other options available, for example, in delivering the last mile. According to them, it's the only solution capable of carrying tools, materials, goods, and sensors over long distances with energy efficiency and speed, overcoming difficult obstacles, and providing unobstructed navigation in indoor and outdoor urban environments. So far, it looks promising, and we'll wait for the first real-world applications. Also, researchers at the Zurich University of Technology are now busy making an architectural group more than 22 meters tall using artificial intelligence and 4 robots working in tandem with each other. A team from Stanford University has developed 3D printed legs for drones that replicate the paws of a peregrine falcon in design. They allow the drone to land on any branches. The mechanical grip design, called snag, consists of a base, the bones, muscles, the motors, and tendons, the fishing line that connects the motors to the base. The mechanism absorbs impact energy when it lands and passively converts it into a gripping force. Once firmly anchored on the branch, the drone receives a signal from the accelerometer in its right leg and triggers the balancing mechanism. To take off, the drone pivots to a horizontal position, releases the locking mechanism, and takes off. The drone is capable of grasping a branch or other objects in 30 to 50 milliseconds. It's also able to grasp objects thrown into its paws in about 10 milliseconds. Scientists from the Indiana University School of Medicine have introduced a silicone nanochip for reprogramming biological tissue in living organisms and described in detail how it's produced. The device can convert skin tissue into blood vessels and nerve cells in a non-invasive way. The technology, called tissue nanotransfection, allows the nanochip to reprogram tissue function by applying a harmless electrical pulse to deliver specific genes to the desired tissues in a fraction of a second. The genes, in turn, change the function of the tissue, allowing blood flow to be restored and thus limbs to be saved in large vessel injuries or parts of the brain in strokes. The French Ascendance Flight Technologies presented the ATEA aircab with hybrid engines, 2 pairs of wings, and a range of 400 kilometers. The unique construction is the propellers inside the wings, allowing the vehicle to take off and land vertically. With this design, according to developers, it reduces the noise from the propellers, making it 4 times lower than that of a helicopter. The low noise level should help the company certify its transportation for the city. Production of the aircab is scheduled to start in 2025. Google has unveiled its new project Starline, which is a 3D telepresence cabin. Project Starline is essentially a 3D video chat booth, which aims to replace a 2-dimensional one-on-one video conference conversation with the illusion of live presence. It's tricky because the high-quality 3D image has to look right all the time relative to your position in the booth. The sound has to be broadcasted as if it's coming from a person's mouth, and you have to maintain eye contact as well. And all of this without having to wear any bulky headsets or trackers. The Starline system consists of a large 8K panel running at 60 Hz, 3 depth sensing capture modules, 4 additional tracking cameras, 4 microphones, 2 speakers, and infrared projectors. Whether or not this will actually become commercial product is not yet known. Scientists from the University of Vermont, Tufts, and Harvard have created xenobots that have suddenly begun to multiply. The miniature living robots from frog stem cells were designed by supercomputers. The robots were then assembled by hand and left in an incubator. Observing the xenobots, the scientists discovered that they could multiply by reproducing the process of kinetic replication. The robots found new cells in a petri dish and began to assemble themselves into spherical structures, which in a few days turned into new xenobots. Only the initial shape of the robots influenced the efficiency and speed of the process. The most efficient, Pac-Man style, the researchers found with the help of artificial intelligence. The developers are confident that their work could be in demand in medicine, as well as the collection of microplastics in the ocean. Would you launch breeding xenobots into your body, even for a cure? Let us know in the comments. The startup Virtual Incision has raised $46 million in Series C funding to certify and deploy its Mira surgical robot. The miniature robotic assistant is designed for laparoscopic procedures such as colon resections, hernia and gallbladder removal, hysterectomies, and others. The press release notes that demand from the physicians and patients for surgical robots is growing every year. Cedars-Sinai Medical Center in Los Angeles has hired 2 Moxie twin robots. They move around the wards and corridors of the hospital, helping nurses deliver lab samples and carry medications and bedding. Patients can even send the robot to the center's gift store. Doctors and patients note that the robots cheer everyone up, which is generally a good feature. Robots use artificial intelligence, machine learning technology, and social engineering to interact with people. They can open doors and store goods inside their bases with 3 lockable drawers. SDU Biorobotics, a startup that designs and programs robots inspired by nature, showed off its latest development, a 6-legged robot with an unusual leg design and energy-efficient movement system. What applications do you think this robot could be used for? Let us know down below. The American startup DroneDeck is developing an innovative infrastructure for drone delivery. The company suggests using small mailboxes where drones could leave parcels, regardless of whether anyone is home or not. Such autonomous receivers could be installed anywhere convenient or attached to the wall of a house. They would transmit their GPS coordinates to delivery drones and only open them if the drone is equipped with a special code. The recipient will be able to view the product code without taking the package out of the box. There's a camera and light inside for this purpose. Also, if necessary, the box can keep the parcel at the right temperature, whether it's medicine or a hot pizza. Somatic showed the capabilities of their latest version of its eponymous toilet cleaning robot. Since many doubt the commercial viability of these robots, the startup offered its robots for rent, and at first purely symbolic so that customers could appreciate the robot's merits. Somatic robots are smart enough. You only need to show the robot where to charge, give it access to water, and it will clean entirely on its own. Rocket Lab gave a presentation and talked about its new mid-range rocket, Neutron. The base of the future reusable launch vehicle is printed from carbon fiber. The height of the first stage will be 40 meters and diameter of 7 meters and the diameter of the fairing at 5 meters. Neutron will take off using 7 new open-cycle oxygen-methane engines called Archimedes. A notable feature of the Neutron's design will be the fairing, which will not be jettisoned. Instead, its nose will be open and push out the second stage together with the payload. Watch the New Year video with wishes for health and energy from the Faculty of Electrical Engineering of the Czech Technical University in Prague. Subscribe to the channel, like this video, and if you did like it, let us know what you found most interesting down below. A company that makes mayonnaise and other products under the Sloboda brand has shown the flight of a prototype of its unmanned air cab. It's reported that the company created the device from scratch and invested more than 1 billion rubles in the development. High-Fly Taxi from EFCO Group of companies can fly up to 15 kilometers and carry cargo weighing up to 120 kilograms. The drone is equipped with 16 electric motors in 2 planes, which provides the vehicle stability and maneuverability. The drone can continue flight and make a landing even in case of a failure with up to 4 engines. The creators are going to start regular flights of High-Fly on dedicated routes of 50 kilometers in the Russian Belgorod region at the end of 2022. For this purpose, the company with the local authorities hope to achieve the creation of an experimental legal regime for flights in the region. By 2028, the developers intend to increase the flight range up to 170 kilometers. Also, EFCO will also create an all-necessary infrastructure for commercial flights of the air cab. Elon Musk said in a tweet that his company Neuralink hopes to get the encouragement of its chips in the brain from the US regulatory authorities in the near future. This will allow the company to begin human trials. The developers plan to use the implants to return mobility to the limbs of people with severe spinal cord injuries. By the way, the company will have no shortage of volunteers, as evidenced by the comments under Musk's tweet. Parisian cab operator G7 suspended rides in a Tesla Model 3 from its taxi fleet after a major accident. According to preliminary reports, there was a malfunction in the car. The driver of the car tried to slow down, but the car accelerated and hit a cyclist and 3 pedestrians before crashing into a van. As a result, 1 person was killed and 20 were injured. Hyundai has announced a robot with a great vestibular apparatus. The company plans to bring it to CES 2022 technology show in the United States. The model MOB-ED, for Mobile Eccentric Droid, is a 4-wheeled platform that can carry various loads over uneven terrain, keeping their balance. For example, the robot can drive up a ramp with a tower of champagne glasses without spilling a drop. The MOB-ED has an adaptive wheelbase and flexible steering angles. The robot can accelerate to a speed of 30 kilometers per hour and carry loads of up to 50 kilograms. Interestingly, the wheelbase of the platform can extend to 65 centimeters in fast motion for better stability and shrink to 45 centimeters for low-speed maneuvers in environments with complex geometry. The robot has 12-inch pneumatic tires and a 2 kilowatt-hour battery that lasts about 4 hours without recharging. Sony has also introduced its own version of a robot car. Its development can also overcome various obstacles, but now with 6 retractable wheels. 2 pairs of extendable wheels in the corners with independent suspension and 2 omnidirectional wheels at the front and rear allow the robot to turn on the spot and climb ledges without changing angles. It has a depth chamber on each side, so it can avoid collisions with obstacles, including moving ones on its own. The robot can carry a load of up to 20 kilograms and will be tested by Sony in the construction of a building in Tokyo. American startup Stoke Space, founded by former employees of SpaceX and Blue Origin, received $65 million in investments from the Bill Gates Foundation to develop fully reusable rockets with a daily flight mode. The developers promised to reduce the cost of launches by 20 times, and the first test flights are planned to start at the end of next year. The company already has an innovative reusable rocket engine for the second stage, for the project of which they have already received the prestigious NASA award, as well as some simple execution of the thermal projection system for non-destructive re-entry of the second stage into the atmosphere. Developers at Stanford University have developed the farmhand robotic arm, capable of properly and safely grabbing raw eggs, bunches of grapes, and plates, as well as lifting jugs of liquids, basketballs, and even an angle grinder. The device replicates the structure of a human brush, but it has an additional sticky surface like a gecko. This sticky material is created in the likeness of the gecko's limbs. The sticky surface of the finger pads creates a firm grip with microscopic flaps. When in full contact with a surface, these valves create the van der Waals force, which is a weak intermolecular force resulting from slight differences in the arrangement of electrons on the outside of the molecules. And as a result, the adhesive can provide a strong bond, but it requires little force to do so, and at the same time, no traces of glue remain on the seized object. The African startup Fractal has developed a prototype of an electric aircraft with bird legs and a tilting cockpit. The Macrobat takes off and lands just like a bird, almost vertically. Tracked supports on the platform allow it to move over rough terrain. The bird's legs are equipped with powerful engines so they can rise, lower, balance, and tilt the body of the aircraft. On takeoff, the Macrobat extends the cockpit to its maximum height, tilts back, and opens the wings so that the large supports tilt 20 degrees from vertical. After takeoff, the supports are folded and slid into the body. The flight range of the vehicle is 150 kilometers, the maximum payload is 150 kilograms, and speed is 180 kilometers per hour. There's room for a pilot in the cockpit, but the Macrobat can also be controlled remotely. In the robotics lab at the Carnegie Mellon University, to train new employees to work with robots, there's a competition every semester where new participants are asked to teach any robot in the lab the silliest, most inefficient, or weirdest walk. The lab is working to get the robots out in challenging real-world environments, such as rocky hills and cluttered houses. Perhaps the goal of such competitions is to find a fresh perspective on the capabilities of mobile robots. Engineers at the Italian Institute of Technology Center for Robotics and Intelligent Systems almost managed to get their Iron Cub research platform into flight. They equipped the robot with 4 engines, which should make them Iron Man. The big question here is why? And the researchers answer it this way. First, there are technological advantages. If a drone with a manipulator is difficult to get a grip on an object to perform any necessary actions, a humanoid robot can use one hand to hold onto something and the other to manipulate it. Second, such a robot can be used to test flight exoskeletons for humans. And last, controlling a flying humanoid robot is an open scientific problem that seems very tempting for engineers to solve because no one has ever done it before. Do you think we need flying humanoids? Let us know down below. Oppo introduced the Air Glass Smart Augmented Reality Glasses with a Spark microprojector, advanced micro-LED, and a diffractive optical waveguide display that can be controlled by touch, voice, head and hand movements. Oppo Air Glass only weighs 30 grams. All the hardware, including the Qualcomm Snapdragon Wear 4100 platform, is hidden in a thin frame. The company claims that the device shows bright and clear images whether the user is indoors or outdoors and guarantees high-quality augmented reality. Air glass can be controlled using the Smart Glass app on the Oppo Watch 2 and any Oppo smartphone with Color OS 11 or higher. When Air glass is paired with the Oppo Watch 2, users can use hand movements to switch apps. Moreover, head movements such as a slight nod or head shake can be used to open and close notifications, for example. The glasses have built-in apps such as weather, calendar, health, teleprompter, translation, and navigation. Would you wear one of these gadgets? Write in the comments. Interestingly, right after the Oppo announcement, Huawei announced that it will unveil its smart glasses with interchangeable lenses and smart glass speakers built into the templates the day after tomorrow. According to teasers, the device will run on Harmony OS and serve as a smart personal assistant. And Ray-Ban Stories smart glasses got updated software and began supporting Facebook Messenger. It's reported now that it will be possible to send, receive, and view messages through the device. To do this, the user will have to use the built-in glasses microphones, speakers, and voice assistant. It will also be possible to make audio calls through the glasses. And according to Mark Zuckerberg, next year the device will receive a new update that will make it even more useful. The Swiss startup Ascento Robotics introduced a pumped-up version of its robot Ascento with a larger diameter of wheels. In addition, the development has received a replaceable battery, the ability to work autonomously, and other improvements. The Ascento Pro, with two dual-section legs with wheels at the ends, has speed, maneuverability, and stability. The robot has 3 depth cameras at the front of the body and 1 at the back. It has lights for illumination and movement in the dark. Thanks to this, Ascento Pro can move autonomously, reaching speeds of up to 12 km per hour and moving for 8 hours without recharging. In the future, the startup hopes to make its robot commercial and find real applications for it. The US military has developed special software to predict the reaction of China to certain US actions. For this development, the Pentagon collected data from 2020. This included sales of military goods and visits of congressmen to pressure points such as Taiwan. The new software will allow US authorities to estimate in advance the effect of certain planned actions according to the military 4 months in advance. In Canada, car thieves have begun to use Apple's AirTag to commit crimes. They put a tracker in the car they want to steal and track it through the locator app on an iPhone. The signal is transmitted using an Apple-branded smartphone. The tracker is enough for any iPhone of any user to be at a distance of 5 meters. To date, 5 cases have been reported in Canada. German Bionic showed off the 5th version of its carbon fiber exoskeleton Cray X. The device helps to lift and carry loads weighing up to 30 kilograms, taking the load off the arms, legs, and lower back, controlling the correct position of the ladder, and pushing the legs forward to facilitate movement with the load. A built-in electronic assistant will alert the operator if he or she is lifting the load incorrectly in terms of safety for the joints, and the Internet of Things technology allows the overall efficiency of the worker to be monitored via the Cray X. The exoskeleton, with its replaceable battery, is IP54 dust and moisture proof, meaning it's not afraid of splashing water and dust. Teams from several NASA and European Space Agency centers are preparing a set of missions that will safely return samples collected by the Mars Perseverance rover back to Earth. Innovative technologies and methods for landing on the Red Planet, collecting samples, and launching them from the surface of Mars to return to Earth are now being tested at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory in Pasadena, California, the Marshall Space Flight Center in Greenbelt, Maryland, and the Langley Research Center in Hampton, Virginia. And remember that this will be the first mission in history of its kind. China has announced plans to move its first manned mission to the moon from 2030s to 2026. Working on the preparation of the mission is already underway. It's based on the design of the Changcheng 5 rocket rather than the heavier Changcheng 9 rocket as previously thought. The new 90-meter-high, 3-stage lunar rocket will be able to orbit 27 tons of payloads around the moon. Considering that NASA's Artemis program, scheduled for 2025, is now struggling with the speed of preparation of all necessary elements, China could become the first on the moon in recent history. The U.S. Federal Trade Commission has opened a case against Mark Zuckerberg's company, Meta. The attention of government agencies has been drawn to the company's massive buyout of popular VR startups. Recently, Meta has bought at least 5 startups in the field of virtual reality, including the developer of the popular game Beat Saber, and now wants to buy a VR fitness application Supernatural for $400 million, which was the official reason for the antitrust investigation. Interestingly, experts estimate that Meta owns most of the consumer VR market as it is, largely due to the success of its Quest 2 headset. But it seems that the company has seriously decided to become the founding member of the Meta universe, and in order to avoid setting up transitions within VR between apps and games, is trying to just buy up everything worthwhile. The Center for Robotics and Mechatronics at the German Aerospace Center showed the lone Christmas party of the humanoid robot Justine. The robot is tidying up his room and seems to be introducing himself to the company of his friends. FCI's Information Technology Research Center also recorded a holiday video with Spot and animal robots. How do you plan to spend your holidays this season? Let us know in the comments. And hey, while you're here, subscribe to the channel, like this video, and don't miss any new episodes from the world of high tech.